Hmm. Good evening to you. Actually, I created some confusion. There is a very big lake in our area, Nanmangalam Lake. There is a protected forest. It's a beautiful village. Though I call myself, I belong to Madras city. Where I live, it's a small village, but with all good things in it. It supplies water, drinking water to a big chunk of the populace, city populace. Either say water tanker lorries or transporting water from our area to the city. That particular lake is getting contaminated because of unscrupulous people letting all this sewage water into it. And once we got the water tested through the lab, the result came that it is not fit for human consumption, not only human consumption, but also to aquatic organism. So I thought we should go and meet the collector, requesting him to do something to clean the area, remove the encroachment, and ensure safe water, clean water. For that matter, I got an appointment fixed well in advance. I collected people. We were to go in a delegation to the collector. That collectorate is some 35-40 kilometers away from my place. Just I wanted to confirm whether that appointment is there, whether I can come by 4 o'clock. Then the secretary says, sir, collector has asked to cancel all the appointments in the evening. So I was in a dilemma, how to tell my students, पहले class nahi hai, abhi class hai. Anyway, now you have come. Almost only this much number is coming for class. Okay, we'll carry on. Disposal through advertised tender. The procedure is the same, just like advertised tender inquiry. पहले आप एक notice देंगे. It will be advertised in the website. Tenders will be called. Tenders will be opened. The lowest tender will be decided. And then contract is finalized, supply starts, and all that. The same way here, only difference is here for disposal, the highest price whoever quotes, that will be the deciding factor. The bidding document should also indicate the location and present condition of the goods to be sold, so that the bidders can inspect the goods before bidding. पहले एक दफा bid notice में ये material, इतना material है, that you have to quote the rate on the basis of the goods which are lying there, as is where is basis. तो उसमें इतना good condition में है, इतना bad condition, ये नहीं बताएंगे. As is where is basis. That is, allow them to inspect. But now the bidding is going to start. Once again, you are giving the opportunity to the bidders to go and inspect. हो सकता है कुछ और चीज missing हो. So another chance. The bidders should be asked to furnish bid security along with their bids. इस disposal of goods में bid security का मना नहीं है. This has not been scrapped. So इधर bid security लेना है और percentage में उधर तो 3 to 5%. Either the percentage different. You have to remember this. The amount of bid security should ordinarily be 10% of the assessed or reserved price of the goods. The exact percentage बोलने से नहीं होगा, because nobody knows the value of it. Nobody knows at what price it will be sold. So you have to roughly 10% kitna chahiye, you have to tell the amount. The exact bid security amount should be indicated in the bidding document. The bidder, the highest acceptable responsive bidder, should normally be accepted. However, if the price offered by the bidder is not acceptable, negotiation may be held only with that bidder. Actually, bidding में negotiation का place ही नहीं होना चाहिए. But in disposal मामले में, then you are permitted to have discussion. किसके साथ? Only to the highest bidder. उसके साथ. In case such negotiation does not provide the desired result, the reasonable or acceptable price may be counter-offered to the next highest responsive bidder. So actually, negotiation इसलिए होता है, the highest price, so-called highest price, is not actually the proper price. इन लोग क्या करते हैं? They form a caucus. उधर आने के बाद जितना भी लोग बिडिंग के लिए आए हैं, उन लोग आपस में बात करके उससे ज्यादा बोली नहीं बोलेंगे. I was a boy when I came to the city in search of employment. That was in 1965. When I reached the city, I was engaged with a civil contractor. उसके पास बहुत ज्यादा काम नहीं होता था. Then he used to give me 10 rupees. आप ये पैसा रखो, हेड हाउस रोड के पास चले जाओ, उधर पब्लिक ऑक्शन होता है. आप एक 10 रुपये जमा करने से यू आर परमिटेड टू पार्टिसिपेट इन दैट बिडिंग. आप नाम देने से ही आपको ऐसे निकालकर दूर ले जाएंगे. रियली इंटरेस्टेड पीपल आपको सेपरेटली ले जाकर आपको 100 रुपीज देंगे. जस्ट विथड्रॉ फ्रॉम द सीन. डोंट बोली में शामिल नहीं होना है. 100 रुपया ले लो. 1965. एक गवर्नमेंट सर्वेंट को स्टार्टिंग सैलरी 250 270 रुपीज होता है. सो 100 रुपीज, तो वेरी बिग अमाउंट. So I used to get, if not 100, most of the time I used to get 50 rupees. So 50 रुपए लेकर भाग जाता था उधर से. So that way, these people form a caucus and they will not ask for more. Highest bidder will be awarded with the contract. तो उसको सब agree करके, suppose it is worth 10,000 rupees, they will not go beyond 4,500 rupees. Nobody will ask. One fellow will stop at 4, and once he gets, आपस में बांट लेंगे किस किस को चाहिए. And there itself they will start selling and collect money and then pay this amount. ऐसा है. इसलिए negotiation होता है. Negotiation का मतलब क्या है? No, we are of the opinion that it is not the proper price. आप purposely you have stopped asking for this more than you are not going beyond this. तो इसलिए our expected price is 7,000 rupees. अगर 7,000 दे सकते हैं, now it has come to a stop at 4,500. If you are agreeable for 7,000 rupees, then we are prepared to give. Then suppose the fellow says, no, I have participated in the bidding and I have gone up to 4,500. So हम उससे ज्यादा नहीं देंगे. In that case, they will have to negotiate with the next highest bidder, जो 4,300 तक बोली में शामिल किया था, उससे बात करना है. Then there also they have to tell 7,000 rupees. If you are willing to pay 7,000 rupees, then we will give. ऐसा, that sort of negotiation will take place. Counter offered. Then in case the total quantity to be disposed of cannot be taken up by the highest acceptable bidder, the remaining quantity may be offered to the next highest bidder at the price offered by the highest acceptable bidder. क्या होता है? बोली हो गया, हाईएस्ट बिडर 4,500 में हम देने का डिसाइड कर लिया. but that fellow is not able to lift because he has to pay down payment करना चाहिए. जो 10% जो है that bid security, जो उसका बैलेंस जितना भी है उसको पूरा डाउन पेमेंट करना चाहिए. Instantly they have to pay, then only they will be given this. But that fellow doesn't have that much money, so he is not able to lift the entire lot. In that case, he is lifting only 50%. In that case, we will have to negotiate with the next highest bidder for the same price. Same price. Originally, he did not ask for that. But now you have to tell that fellow is not able to lift all the goods. So, इसलिए in case you are interested, you can take these goods at this rate. ऐसा करके. Full payment, that is, the residual amount after adjusting the bid security should be obtained from the successful bidder before releasing the goods. पूरा पैसा लेकर goods को release करना है. In case the selected bidder does not show interest in lifting the goods, the bid security should be forfeited and other actions initiated, including resale of goods in question at the risk and cost of the defaulter after obtaining legal. बोली तो बोल दिया. Finally it has been decided, hammer on the stroke of the hammer, कितना पैसा वो बोली में बोला उतना पैसा देकर वो लिफ्ट करना है. He is not able to lift, उतना पैसा उसके पास नहीं है. In that case, penal action, that is that bid security जितना भी जमा किया है वो forfeit हो जाएगा. And resale, फिर बोली शुरू हो जाएगा नया. तो उसी जगह पर या बाद में उसमें जो भी कॉस्ट इन्वॉल्व है, that much money that he has to pay. Then disposal through auction. First, through advertised tender, disposal of unserviceable goods by advertised tender. अगर उसमें dispose नहीं हो पाया, then in that case, disposal through auction. A ministry or department may undertake auction of goods to be disposed of either directly or through approved auctioners. There are government auctioners. They will do auctioning for a commission. They will organize the auction and then take commission. They will not participate in the bid. They will only organize bidding. The auction plan, including details of goods to be auctioned and their location, applicable terms and conditions of the sale, etc., should be given wide publicity. This in the same manner as is done in the case of advertised tender. Advertised tender में कैसा ही publicity देते हैं, उसी तरह auction के लिए भी publicity देना चाहिए. While starting the auction process, the condition and location of goods to be auctioned, applicable terms and conditions of sale, etc., as already indicated earlier, while giving wide publicity for the same, should be announced again for the benefit of the assembled bidders. Bidding करने के लिए, बोली में शामिल करने के लिए लोग उधर आगे हैं, जो भी आए हैं उनको फिर एक बार वो जगह ले जाकर इस जगह पर ये जो पड़े हैं ना, all these items are the items for sale. इसी आइटम को हम लोग ऑक्शन बोली में बेचने वाले हैं. ऐसा करके give another opportunity to these people to inspect and see for themselves. During auction process, acceptance or rejection of a bid should be announced immediately at the stroke of the hammer. If a bid accepted, earnest money, that is not less than 25% of the bid. पहले क्या था? If it is purchase, that bid security is 2 to 5%. If it is sale, disposal through advertised tender, then no, that is today's tender, it is 10%. If it is through auction, it is 25%. During the auction process, acceptance or rejection of bid should be announced immediately at the stroke of the hammer. If a bid is accepted, EMD should immediately be taken on the spot. पहले नहीं, auction का time पर जो बोली बोलने के लिए आया है, उनसे EMD 25% लेना चाहिए, cash or in the form of deposit at call receipt drawn in favor of the ministry or department selling the goods. The goods should be handed over to the successful bidder only after receiving the balance. 25% वो earnest money करके, I mean bid security करके दिया हुआ है. The balance, suppose बोली में 75% फिर और देना है, that money has to be collected and then the item should be released. The composition of the auction team, कौन कौन वो auction team में कौन कौन होना चाहिए, whoever it is, that will be a team that should include the internal financial advisor. The composition of the auction team will be decided by the competent authority. The team should however include an officer of the internal finance wing of the department. Then disposal at scrap value. पहले से ही हम देखे हैं, the disposal can be in different forms, different methods, different modes. First one, advertised tender. अगर उसे हो नहीं पाया, then auction. अगर उससे नहीं होता है, then scrap value में dispose करना है. वो भी नहीं होता है, then we have to dispose of by destruction. Disposal at scrap value or by other modes. If a ministry or department is unable to sell any surplus or obsolete or unserviceable item in spite of its attempts through advertised tender or auction, it may dispose of the same at its scrap value with the approval of the competent authority in consultation with the finance division. In case the ministry or department is unable to sell the items even at scrap value, अगर scrap value में भी dispose नहीं कर पा रहे हैं, then it may adopt any other mode of disposal, including destruction of the item in an eco-friendly manner. A sale account should be prepared for goods disposed of in GFR 11, duly signed by the officer who supervises the sale or auction. तो ये एक फॉर्मेट है, उसमें सेल अकाउंट उसमें होना चाहिए. Powers to write off all profits and losses due to revaluation, stock taking, or other causes shall be duly recorded and adjusted where necessary. Formal sanction of the competent authority shall be obtained in respect of losses, even though no formal correction or adjustment in government accounts is involved. Power to write off of losses are available under Delegation of Financial Powers Rules, 1978. Losses due to depreciation. Loss kaisa hoga? Losses due to depreciation shall be analyzed and recorded under following heads as applicable. Normal fluctuation of market prices, ऐसा भी loss होता है. Then normal wear and tear, ऐसा भी होता है. Then lack of foresight in regulating purchases, जितना चाहिए उससे बहुत ज्यादा खरीदने से then loss होता है, because it is not used. And negligence after purchase, storing करने के that is the way you store, वो गलत तरीके से स्टोर करते हैं. सपोज एयर कंडीशन रूम में रखना चाहिए, उसको ऑर्डिनरी प्लेस में रखते हैं, एंड फ्यूमिगेशन के लिए फैसिलिटी नहीं है. ऐसा डिफरेंट कारण से ये लॉस हो सकता है. लॉसेस नॉट ड्यू टू डिप्रिसिएशन, that is losses not due to depreciation shall be grouped as under losses due to theft or fraud, ऐसा लॉस हो सकता है. losses due to neglect, negligence होता है, उससे लॉस हो सकता है. Anticipated loss on account of obsolescence of stores or of purchases in excess of requirements. तो पड़ा रहने से खराब हो जाता है. So that sort of this thing excess excess purchase करने से भी use नहीं होता है. That is also resulting in loss. Losses due to damage. ऐसा किसी कारण से डैमेज होने से लॉस होता है. Losses due to extraordinary situations under force majeure conditions like fire, flood, enemy action, etc., etc. One second. Hello? யாரு? No, I am in class. காலையில இருந்து வெயிட் பண்ணிட்டு இருந்தேன் உங்களுக்காக. You talk to me after 9 o'clock, okay? Permanent advance. Have you completed permanent advance? We have no. Permanent advance is an advance cash impressed given to larger unit of the department for primarily meeting emergent contingent expenditure which cannot be foreseen. Actually, we have already seen in a small office, the impressed amount is kept to the cashier to meet unforeseen contingent expenditure. In a bigger office like a department, here it is called the same impressed, same purpose. It is called permanent advance. The purpose is to meet unforeseen expenditure. If it is the government of India, that is called contingent fund, contingency fund. Though that is also a bigger impressed amount kept to the government of India. The administrators or head of the departments in consultation with internal finance advisors can sanction permanent advance in respect of their own office and for those subordinate to him. So the permanent advance is sanctioned to a bigger office like a department. So it has to be sanctioned in consultation with the internal finance advisor because it conservative basis में fix करना होता है. They may ask a big amount that how much to give. You have to take the advice of internal financial advisor. It should not exceed average of the contingent expenditure incurred during preceding 12 months. The application for advance should therefore be accompanied by a statement showing month-wise contingent expenditure for the preceding 12 months. Suppose अभी तक permanent advance sanction नहीं हुआ है, there is a fresh case requesting for permanent advance for a particular unit. Then for that, you will have to submit an application asking for sanction of permanent advance. While doing so, you will have to show there should be a statement attached to it. That statement should show what was the expenditure under contingency during the past 12 months, month-wise expenditure on contingent head. Contingency head में month-wise जनवरी में कितना हुआ, नो अप्रैल में कितना हुआ, मई, ऐसा करके 1 full year का देना चाहिए. उसमें average देकर average amount कितना आता है, then not exactly the average amount. उसके बाद उसको conservative fixation किया जाएगा. When the permanent advance used to be sanctioned to a new organization, suppose first time, कोई नया organization itself, department itself is a new one. In that case, it has to be fixed on a conservative basis on par with the offices of similar character, subject to review after 6 months. पहले conservative basis पर जितना average बनता है, तो उससे भी कम दिया जाएगा. 6 महीने के बाद रिव्यू करके देन उसको इंक्रीज कर सकते हैं. Permanent advance should be recouped twice a month. बार बार रिक्यूप नहीं करना है. It should be recouped only twice a month. Following are the conditions for recoupment. The amount of advance should not be larger than what is absolutely necessary. इसको कितना जरूरत पड़ता है उतना ही अमाउंट परमानेंट एडवांस में सैंक्शन होना चाहिए. These advances should not be multiplied unnecessarily. Recouping very frequently means you are circumventing rules. Recoupment should be done only twice a month. For each identifiable organization, there should be only one permanent advance. The object of advance is to meet unforeseen emergent contingent expenditure. Normally, the reason or the purpose for the permanent advance is to meet urgent contingent expenditure. लेकिन ऐसा नहीं है. किसी को immediately किसी आदमी को लंच बॉक्स लेकर ऑफिस पहुंच गया, लेकिन उसको पकड़कर अभी अभी एयरपोर्ट जाओ, इधर से जयपुर जाकर ये काम करके कल सुबह जाना है. So how he has to be given some money. टिकट दो आप खरीद के दे भी देंगे, then he needs some money. So उसके लिए for this you can give. Even transfer T advance can be given, but pay advance given during transfer वो नहीं दे पाएंगे. ये ग्रुप ए एंड बी ऑफिसर को पे एडवांस नहीं दे पाएंगे. The object of advance is to meet the unforeseen emergent contingent expenditure. However, it can be utilized for any other bona fide expenditure except advance of pay to Group A and Group B officers. Accountability. The person to whom the advance is sanctioned. Person means the official. The official to whom the advance is sanctioned, that is, the holder of the advance, is primarily responsible for the advance, its utilization and for maintenance of accounts. किसका नाम पर? DDO का नाम पर होता है. Generally, it is the permanent advance is in the name of the DDO. I mean, the designation of DDO. Sometimes it is in the designation of the head of the office. Head of the office. Whoever is responsible, they have to keep an account. They have to be responsible for the amount. Suppose 50,000 rupees is the permanent advance. That any time, if it is checked, that much money should be available. 50,000 should be available either in cash, all 50,000 in cash, or partly in cash, partly in vouchers. Monthly statement of expenditure showing the details of contingent bills which classified with the classified heads and copies of sanction should be furnished to the sanctioning authority in the following months. Acknowledgement. Whenever there is a change in increment in holding the permanent advance, and at the start of each financial year, the holder should send a receipt acknowledgement to the sanctioning authority for record. The sanctioning authority will maintain a register with the details such advance granted to larger units under its control. So, इसका मतलब क्या है? Suppose the advance is with me, I am going on transfer, then it has to be got liquidated. That is, it should be brought in the form of cash. So, जैसे मेरे को I am the DDO, I am getting transferred, then I have to get all the vouchers lying with me. That is, with me means the cashier. That everything has to be encashed. Encash करके cash का रूप में ले आना चाहिए, and it has to be handed over, taken over. Suppose, and this fact will be intimated to the head of the department. Suppose no such transfer happens, but on the 31st of March, the entire voucher that is spending towards the spending of money from this impressed amount, that is permanent advance. Permanent advance से पैसा लेकर जितना भी खर्च करके वाउचर का रूप में पड़ा है, those have to be claimed through a bill, contingency bill, and cash का रूप में इसको ले आना चाहिए. And every 31st of March, वो करने के बाद you have to give a certificate to the head of the department or the ministry, whoever has sanctioned. उनको ये that is called acknowledgement. That is, I acknowledge that I have in the form of cash a sum of rupees 50,000 that has been sanctioned to this unit as a permanent advance as on 31st of March. ऐसा करके acknowledgement भेजना चाहिए. It has to be sent. Now, grant in aid. Grant in aid. Grant means what? वो ऐसे दे देना, मुफ्त में ऐसे दे देना, वही grant है. Loan, that is different. Loan has to be recovered. Grant need not be, can't be recovered. Grant is given. I say, de dena. Suppose Finance Commission says that you give this much amount to states, that is 42% of the taxes collected by central government should be shared with the state governments. So once you share it, that is given away. इसी तरह एक अभी कहाँ है, बिहार में इतना बड़ा बाढ़ आया है, फ्लड मीट करने के लिए उसको लम सम अमाउंट देना चाहिए. You have to, central government has to go to the rescue of Bihar government. वैसे भी पैसा देते हैं बिहार गवर्नमेंट को बिकॉज अलायंस पार्टनर है. लेकिन ऐसा स्थिति में बाढ़ में और क्या है और व्हाट सिचुएशन ड्रॉट में और एनी इमरजेंसी, उसमें एक लमसम हेल्प असिस्टेंस दिया जाता है. दैट इज ग्रांट इन एड. That is grant in aid. Once it is given actually. Grant in aid is a financial assistance sanctioned from Contingency Fund of India by the Department of Government of India. It can be sanctioned to a person or a public body or an institution having a direct or no distinct legal entity, such as institutions or organizations set up as statutory or autonomous body और रजिस्टर्ड सोसाइटी. इनको सबको ये दे सकते हैं, ग्रांट इन एड दे सकते हैं. और किसको दे सकते हैं? वॉलंटरी ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस एंड एनजीओस विथ वेल डिफाइंड क्राइटेरिया ऑन देयर एक्टिविटीज, रिसोर्सेस एंड पर्सोनल. तो किस लिए ये ग्रांट इन एड वो ऐसा वॉलंटरी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन को ये देते हैं ना, एनजीओस को देते हैं, बिकॉज दे विल बी डूइंग सच वर्क that is pursuing the government policies and programs. Suppose education for all, that is a scheme by the government. That cannot be done only by the government. There you need the help of private institutions, that is aided institutions, private NGOs and all. Because this is a government scheme, but those people are working in furtherance of these policies. तो इसलिए ऐसा चीज के लिए हम ग्रांट इन एड देंगे. That is not to be recovered. In addition to grant in aid, we may grant loan. That is different. But grant in aid means मुफ्त में दिया जाता है ये पैसा. So for what purpose? There should be some objective. That is proper. ये तो scheme, गवर्नमेंट स्कीम को आप बढ़ावा देते हैं, लेकिन थ्रू व्हाट? यू शुड हैव प्रॉपर स्टाफिंग. ऐसा स्टाफ सैलरी के लिए देते हैं. देन ओनली इफ यू हैव करेक्ट क्वालिफाइड स्टाफ, देन this thing, your work will be simplified. The objective of such organization should be to promote welfare schemes and programs. Educational and other institutions by grant of scholarships or stipends to students. Urban and rural local self-government institutions, cooperative societies, societies and clubs set up by government servants for promotion of social, cultural and sports activities as recreational avenues. The ministry or department of the central government directly concerned with the aims and activities of the institution should consider the request for grant in aid in consultation with their financial advisor who may associate a representative of the Ministry of Finance. Suppose I am asking for grant in aid. I am one NGO. I am giving. There is an organization. There is an NGO. It is called We Care Society. We Care Society for the protection of children of AIDS affected parents. जो भी children AIDS affected parents को हो, उनको रिहैबिलिटेट करने के लिए ऐसा एक वी केयर सोसाइटी, ऐसा एक सोसाइटी बनाया. एज एनजीओ इट हैज बीन रजिस्टर्ड. सो उनके लिए ये मिलता है. लेकिन एक ऐसा नॉमेनक्लेचर देखने से इट इज डिसेप्टिव. इट कम्स अंडर सोशल वेलफेयर एंड वुमेन एंड चिल्ड्रन. दो मिनिस्ट्री, दोनों से इन लोग fraudulently they can take grant in aid for the same organization from different ministries. Usko to be cautious. What we have to do immediately when we finalize the request of such an organization, you have to upload the fact on your website. अगर आपके पास नहीं है, NIC के पास रिक्वेस्ट भेजना चाहिए, इसको अपलोड करिए, so that it will be the caution will be there. There is no duplication of grant in aid. Procedure. Any organization seeking grants in aid should submit an application in the prescribed form. You should accompany articles of association, bylaws, audited statement of accounts, details of income and expenditures, etc., explaining the need for seeking the grant, which will enable the sanctioning authority to assess the suitability. You should also certify that it has not applied for grants for the same purpose from any other ministry. Certificate तो लेना पड़ेगा. हम इसी पर्पस के लिए हम कुछ और मिनिस्ट्री से हम मदद नहीं मांगे, ग्रांट इन एड को अप्लाई नहीं किया. To avoid duplication in grant in aid, each ministry or department should maintain a list of grantees mentioning the purpose on its website. जिस NGOs को प्राइवेट एंड वॉलंटरी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन को हम लोग ग्रांट इन एड दे चुके हैं, एंड द पर्पस फॉर दैट सच ग्रांट इन एड इज दिस, ऐसा करके वेबसाइट में डालना चाहिए. The ministry's internal finance wing should lay down the rules for grant in aid. All sanctions of grant in aid issued by the ministry in excess of their powers, in exercise of their powers under Rule 20 of the DFPR should conform to these rules. DFPR 20 में क्या the conditions लगाए हैं, those conditions should be incorporated and elaborated. Rules regulations बनाना चाहिए for the grant in aid. Grants in aid should be on the basis of viability of the organization. ऐसा नहीं नेम से एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है तो उसको ये दें, ऐसा नहीं. Voluntary organizations or NGOs, they are required to be registered with the Ministry of Home Affairs, and for grant in aid, the concerned ministry. Suppose I am involved in certain activities which are related to the women and children ministry, तो उनके पास हमारा registration होना चाहिए. Subject to the following terms and conditions, grants in aid towards administrative expenditure may be sanctioned to voluntary organizations to ensure minimum staff structure with qualified personnel to improve their effectiveness. So in Delhi, we have Delhi Tamil Education Association. Delhi Tamil Education Association, which is registered as a society, which has been running 8 senior secondary schools in Delhi, and this association, association has been there for 100 years. With 2023, it has been there for 100 years. So it is running 7 senior secondary schools. It is actually helping the government, because you cannot open government school everywhere. So some private organization is opening such schools and giving quality education. अगर ऐसा quality education देना है, so that is well qualified teachers must be there, well qualified staff should be there. उसके लिए to ensure that you will have to give grants in it. Grant, that is in practically the Delhi government is giving grant in aid worth 95% of salary, expenditure on salary of teachers and school staff. Grants in aid should not exceed 25% of approved administrative expenditure on pay and allowances of voluntary organizations. Grant in aid to meet administrative expenditure to private institutions unregistered should not be sanctioned. Normally, private institution को grant in aid देना नहीं चाहिए. Only to registered voluntary organizations and registered NGOs. In exceptional cases, it can be sanctioned in consultation with the internal finance wing. In the case of non-recurring grants, the order shall specify the time limit for spending the grant. Grant देने के समय ही how to spend, within which time it should be spent. ये सारा condition उसमें होना चाहिए. Sanction should indicate the quantum and periodicity for release of grant in aid in installments. Last installment should be released only after ascertaining proper utilization of earlier installments. So final installment, suppose in a financial year you are going to release in installments, last installment release करने से पहले वो पहले जो भी दिया हुआ है, all these money has been spent. In order to avoid delay, grantee organization should submit details by the end of October. Delay मतलब actually projection. Next year के लिए हमें कितना पैसा चाहिए as grant in aid. उस projection अक्टूबर में देना चाहिए. Just like our budget preparation. Field unit पे अक्टूबर में होता है. इसी तरह they have to give, the organizations receiving grant in aid should project their demand by October, so that it can be included in the budget, and then once it is sanctioned, it will be informed to the grantee organizations. So the ministry could make necessary budget provision on time for next financial year, next year. Grantee will be informed of the provision for grant by April. आपको इतना पैसा sanction हुआ है, so that you will get after the financial year starts. So that is by May it will be granted. When recurring grants in aid are sanctioned, the unspent balance of previous grant should be taken into account. Recurring grants in aid, इसका मतलब you are giving in installments. So ऐसा करने से पहले जो दिया हुआ है वो ठीक तरह से spend हुआ है नहीं हुआ है, that has to be ensured. All grantee organizations receiving more than 50% of their recurring expenditure as aid should formulate, suppose आपका 50% or more administrative expenses through grant in aid होता है, then in that case administration में जितना भी staff है, that those staff will be in accordance with the rules and regulations formulated. Proper rules formulate करना चाहिए. The proposed salary, हाँ ऐसा देकर ग्रांट इन एड ले लेंगे सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट से, लेकिन इधर ASO के कितना स्केल है उससे बड़ा स्केल आप देंगे. पैसा सरकार का, सरकार कितना पैसा एक पर्टिकुलर रैंक ऑफिशियल को देता है, उससे उधर देना मांगता है. It is not permitted, but occasionally, specially, ऐसा भी permit किया जाता है. The proposed salary should not be higher than those applicable to similarly placed central government employees. In exceptional cases, Ministry of Finance can make a relaxation. Grantee organizations should be encouraged to take advantage of, हाँ, सबके लिए ये नहीं मांगना है. Actually, that DTE के बारे में मैं बता रहा था, Delhi Tamil Education Association के बारे में. In the school teachers, they are all aided because of this. You are getting government aid, grant in aid. So aided schools. तो एडेड स्कूल में जो टीचर्स हैं उनको पेंशन मिलता है. दैट इज ऑल्सो गोइंग फ्रॉम द गवर्नमेंट एक्सचेकर. उनको पेंशन मिलता है. एंड एडवांसेस फॉर हाउस बिल्डिंग, एडवांसेस फॉर मोटर कार, एटसेट्रा एवरीथिंग मिलता है. तो इट शुड नॉट बी एनकरेज. ऐसा मार्केट में देयर आर सर्टेन स्कीम्स अवेलेबल. Those schemes available in the market should be availed. Grantee organizations should be encouraged to take advantage of the pension schemes, gratuity schemes, group insurance schemes, house building loans, vehicle loans schemes, etc. available in the market instead of undertaking liability on their own. In the case of grantee NGOs, it should be stipulated that the assets created out of government grants shall not be disposed without the prior approval of government. ग्रांट लेकर आप एक बिल्डिंग कंस्ट्रक्ट करते हैं, उसको डिस्पोज करने के समय यू हैव टू इन्फॉर्म द गवर्नमेंट. Government should decide whether the ownership of buildings constructed with grant in aid may vest with the government or the grant organization. रूल्स में ऐसा फ्रेम करना चाहिए. सपोज ग्रांट इन एड लेकर उसको इस्तेमाल करके यू आर कंस्ट्रक्टिंग a building, then that should be in the name of hypothecated to the President of India. ऐसा होना चाहिए. Or it should be in the name of the grantee organization. That has to be decided by the government. Any other special terms, conditions, or procedures shall be got incorporated in the bylaws of the organization before release of grant in aid. Suppose you want to put conditions, that should be incorporated in their rule book. That is called the bylaws. Grants in aid may be sanctioned to meet bona fide expenditure incurred not earlier than 2 years prior to the date of issue of sanction. ऐसा भी होता है, पहले खर्च कर लें, वो कहीं भी फंड्स मैनेज करके दे विल स्पेंड मनी, तो उसके बाद आकर ग्रांट इन एड क्लेम करेंगे. ऐसा भी कर सकते हैं. सो ऐसा 2 साल के पहले हम कर दिया, ऐसा करके यू कैनॉट गिव डिटेल्स. हम लोग 2 साल पहले इतना खर्च किया, कर लिया, ग्रांट इन एड दें, ऐसा नहीं हो सकता है. विद इन 2 year पीरियड आप जो भी खर्च किए हैं ऑन दी डिक्लेयर्ड एम्स एंड ऑब्जेक्टिव, then you can ask for grant in aid. Payment of grant. Before a grant is released, grantee should execute bonds. Certain organizations are exempted, but otherwise, हर एक grantee organization means the organization who is being granted the grant in aid. Before a grant is released, the grantee should execute bonds binding themselves to. ऐसा बॉन्ड एग्जीक्यूट करना चाहिए. उसमें क्या अंडरटेकिंग, अबाइड बाय द कंडीशंस ऑफ द ग्रांट इन एड एंड द टारगेट डेट्स. तो हम लोग ग्रांट इन एड का जितना भी कंडीशन है तो उसको अबाइड करेंगे. एंड नॉट ओनली दैट, वी विल टारगेट डेट में कंप्लीट करेंगे. स्पेंडिंग विल बी विद इन दैट टारगेट डेट. Not to divert the grants to another organization. Either लेकर subsidiary organization एक को दे रहा है, and that is not permissible. Not to divert grants to another organization. Suppose you are having a sister organization where you are diverting, that is also not possible. Execution of bond will not apply to quasi-government autonomous bodies, central autonomous bodies, the institutions whose budget is approved by the government. जो भी organization, maybe it is PSU or autonomous body or any other organization whose budget is approved by the government, then for them it is not necessary to execute bonds. Conditions: where the recipient body enjoys more than 25%, employs more than 25%, and at least 50% of its recurring expenditure is met from grants and aid from the central government, and where it is a registered society or a cooperative institution and is in receipt of general purpose annual grants in aid of rupees 20 lakhs and above from the government, the sanctioning authority should ensure provisions. अगर इतना ज्यादा 20% of total expenditure से वो ग्रांट से मिलता है, तो इतना ज्यादा ग्रांट इन एड मिलने से, so what is the condition? They have to do reservations. Reservation policy of Government of India should be implemented there for SC, ST and OBC in their posts and services. The sanctioning authority should keep the implementation of reservation in view while considering requests for further grants. The sanctioning authority should lay down targets for internal resource generation for the grantees and take such internally generated resources into account. Suppose you are aware, or there is a possibility to raise funds internally, generate funds internally, then you should encourage or impress upon the grantee organization to develop the sources and earn that money. That money should be adjusted, reduced from the grant need accounts of grantee organizations. Once the government gives grant in aid, then accounting will be watched. Proper accounting should be kept. Grantee organizations are required to maintain proper accounts for the grant in aid and furnish the same to the accounts officer along with the audited statement of accounts and utilization for the grants or whenever called for. तो उसमें क्या क्या करना पड़ता है? First thing, the organization shall get its accounts audited by chartered accountants of their choice. First thing, अपना account अपना choice का एक chartered accountant को देकर audit कराना चाहिए. First thing. Number 2, accounts of all grantee organizations shall be inspected by the government and audited both by the C&AG and by the principal accounts office of the ministry. Normally, छोटा मोटा grant in aid लेने वाला organizations को pay and accounts office will go and inspect. Suppose the amounts of grant in aid is very large, then C&AG itself will audit. एक चक्कर और है, C&AG अगर ऑडिट करना शुरू कर दिया, वो 1 साल ऑडिट करके छोड़ेंगे और 2 साल ऑडिट करेंगे कंटिन्यूअसली फॉर, बिकॉज व्हाट हैपेंस इन अ सिंगल ईयर कैन नॉट बी जज्ड. वो ठीक ठाक चल रहा है, ऐसा नहीं जजमेंट करना मुश्किल है. इसलिए कंटिन्यूअसली 3 years इंस्पेक्ट करके then they will understand, yes, this is properly, account is properly maintained, spending is properly done and all that. Number 3, the C&AG shall audit if the grant in aid is not less than rupees 25 lakhs and also not less than 75% of the total expenditure of the organization. The accounts may also be audited by the C&AG if the grants or loans in a financial year are not less than rupees 1 crore. Once started, C&AG shall continue to audit for a further period of 2 years. एक दफा शुरू कर दिया तो और 2 साल करेंगे. देन ये शेड्यूल कैसा है? सबमिशन ऑफ annual accounts by grantee organization to the concerned audit office and the commencement of audit of annual accounts 30th June. previous year का 30th June में audit होगा. Issue of annual audit certificate, that is annual report and audit certificate, that is by auditing authority 31st of October. Then submission of annual report and audited accounts to the concerned nodal ministry for laying it before the parliament 31st December. Utilization certificate, this point is again and again ये ग्रांट इन एड में यूटिलाइजेशन सर्टिफिकेट के बारे में बार बार क्वेश्चन आता है. The order sanctioning a non-recurring grant, non-recurring means one-time grant, should insist upon submission of utilization certificate certifying utilization of the grants for the purpose for which it was sanctioned. That is the purpose of utilization certificate. That is, we have spent the money for which it was sanctioned, for the purpose for which it was sanctioned. I said, the utilization certificate should also indicate whether the qualitative and quantitative targets were achieved, and if not, the reasons therefore. अगर ऐसा कुछ target है, उसको achieve कर लिया, that sort of certificate that should include in the utilization certificate. They should contain performance assessment. The utilization certificate should be submitted within 12 months of the closure of the financial year. तो ये carefully wordings देखना है. 12 months of the closure of, suppose you are granting grant in aid to a particular organization by the month of June, then the grant in aid certificate should be given, utilization certificate should be given by that organization before completion of 12 months after the closure. Suppose जून 2024 में ग्रांट इन एड सैंक्शन होता है, उसका फाइनेंशियल ईयर खत्म होगा 31 मार्च 2025, उससे 12 मंथ्स, दैट इज बिफोर 31 मार्च 2026 उसमें देना चाहिए. Where such a certificate is not received within the prescribed time, the organization will be blacklisted for any future grant or other financial support. This stipulation should be put on website. In respect of recurring grants, पहले जो देखा था non-recurring. In respect of recurring grants, the ministry concerned should release grants for subsequent year only after receipt of utilization certificate in respect of earlier grants. Recurring grants का sanction करने से पहले earlier grant का ये यूटिलाइज हुआ कि नहीं, वो इंश्योर करके देना है. Release of grant in aid in excess of 50% of total grant sanctioned for subsequent year shall be done only after the receipt of annual audited statement relating to earlier grants to the satisfaction of the ministry. 50% तक आप it is recurring, 50% तक आप sanction कर सकते हैं in the next year. Then the other 50% only after getting the undertaking that they have already spent that amount. इसका utilization certificate वगैरह और the details पता करके then इसके बाद ये another next 50% will be sanctioned. Utilization certificate need not be furnished in the cases of grants made as reimbursement. पहले खर्च करके उसके बाद ये grant in aid मांगते हैं, उनका utility तो पहले हो गया. You are only reimbursing what they have already spent. So उनका utilization certificate fresh नहीं चाहिए. In respect of central autonomous organizations, the utilization certificate shall disclose details of expenditure incurred towards recoverable loans and advances given to suppliers, construction agencies, to staff, which do not constitute expenditure at that stage. Such expenditure shall be treated as unutilized portion of the grants for that year, but to be adjusted during subsequent year. क्या मतलब? तो ऑटोनोमस ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस तो उसमें से स्टाफ को एडवांस देते हैं, कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स को एडवांस देते हैं, कुछ और चीज के लिए एडवांस देते हैं. दैट शुड नॉट बी ट्रीटेड एज एक्सपेंडिचर. उनका पैसा तो गया इन द फॉर्म ऑफ एडवांस. तो एडवांस नाम लेने से दैट मीन्स दे आर गोइंग टू रिकवर दैट अमाउंट. तो इट कैन नॉट बी ट्रीटेड एज एक्सपेंडिचर. अनस्पेंट अमाउंट ऐसा लेना चाहिए, because that money they are going to recover. Then when the central grant are given to state governments for expenditure to be incurred by them through local bodies or private institutions, the utilization certificate should be furnished by the state government concerned. तो स्टेट गवर्नमेंट ये ग्रांट इन एड लेकर लोकल बॉडीज को देता है, then utilization certificate must be given by the state government, not the end user. Parliamentary control. The parliamentary control ये देखना है. One is a report. Every ministry has to submit a report to the parliament. One. Number two, the annual report. ऐसा ये दो चीज होता है. In the case of private and voluntary organizations receiving recurring grants from rupees 10 lakhs to 25 lakhs, all the ministries should include in their annual report a statement showing the quantum of funds provided to each of those organizations and the purpose for which they were utilized for the information of the parliament. ऐसा केस में 10 lakhs to 25 lakhs grant in aid देने से, that is recurring grants में, then that you have to give details so that the ministry will submit a report to the parliament. The annual reports and accounts of private and voluntary organizations receiving recurring grants to the tune of rupees 25 lakhs and above should be laid on the table of the house within 9 months. That is, one is reporting to the parliament, the other one is laying on the table of the parliament within 9 months from the closure of succeeding financial year. In the case of organizations receiving one-time assistance or non-recurring grants, non-recurring means the same, one-time grant or non-recurring, that is one and the same. If it is 10 lakhs to 50 lakhs, all ministries should include in their annual report statements showing the quantum of funds provided to each of these organizations and the purpose for which the funds were utilized for the information of the parliament. One is 10 lakhs to 50 lakhs. इसमें that is non-recurring grant. वो उसके लिए ये एक report, वो report में the concerned ministry's report, it will be included. The annual reports and audited accounts of private and voluntary organizations or societies receiving one-time assistance or non-recurring grants of rupees 50 lakhs and above should also be laid on the table of the house within 9 months of the close of succeeding financial year. Closure of financial year नहीं, closure of succeeding financial year, उसमें उससे 9 months. Submission of achievement cum performance reports. The annual reports and audited statement of accounts of autonomous organizations are required to be laid on the table of the parliament. If the grant exceeds rupees 25 lakhs, the ministry should include in their annual report a review of utilization of the grant individually with the details of achievements vis-a-vis the amount spent. Achievement का report भी वो देना चाहिए. In case where the grant is for rupees 25 lakhs or less, the ministry should include in their annual report their own assessment of the achievements or performance of the organization. A register of grants shall be maintained by the sanctioning authority in the prescribed form. Such a record will guard against the possibility of duplicate double payment. Yeah, हर एक sanctioning ministry has to maintain a record of grants given to various organizations. So that should be put on website so that duplication, double payment is not made. Discretionary grants. When an allotment for discretionary grant is placed at the disposal of a particular, इसमें गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया का क्रिटिसिज्म है, that is discretionary grant. तो अमरावती को कैपिटल बनाने के लिए आंध्र प्रदेश को स्पेशल ग्रांट दिया जाता है, and there is a discretionary grant given to government of Bihar. ऐसा बिहार और आंध्र प्रदेश को स्पेशल ट्रीटमेंट में पैसा मिलता है बोल के the other government, other state governments, they are aggrieved. Now, grant in aid for government employees welfare. वो क्या होता है? Government employees are forming recreational club. Recreational clubs are formed in the government offices, not only in the ministry but also in subordinate and attached offices. उसके लिए सब्सक्रिप्शन लिया जाता है from the individual members. So when a gazetted officer is not included as a member of recreation club, there is no question of collecting subscription. And accordingly, commensurate contribution from the government side will also not be there. Otherwise, the amount collected, बराबर का amount सरकार से भी मिलता है. In addition, every particular official, every official will get 50 rupees per annum. तो ये सब उनका एक्सपेंडिचर के लिए, कई चीज खरीदना होता है, सेलिब्रेट करना होता है, एनुअल डे करना होता है, कॉम्पिटिशन्स करना होता है. फॉर ऑल दिस the recreation club of the government ministries, they are in need of money. For that, grant in aid is given. First time, the recreation club for the first time set up करना है किसी नया ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में, फर्स्ट टाइम एक रिक्रिएशन क्लब सेटअप करना होता है, देन वन टाइम पेमेंट ऑफ 50,000 rupees is given. Grants in aid for provision of amenities or of recreation, not only for the office recreation club, but also for residential welfare associations. 10 रुपया सब्सक्रिप्शन कलेक्ट करने से बराबर का अमाउंट उधर से मिलता है, बराबर का नहीं मिलता है, that 25% of the amount collected, that will be given as grant in aid to residential welfare association also. Grants in aid for provision of amenities or of recreational or welfare facilities to the staff and staff of the offices of the government are regulated under orders of the Ministry of Home Affairs issued from time to time. The admissibility of the grants in aid for the welfare of the government employees should be regulated in the following manner. The grant in aid will be admissible on the basis of total strength borne on the regular strength of the organization. तो रेगुलर स्ट्रेंथ कितना है उसका मुताबिक ये गवर्नमेंट ग्रांट इन एड मिलेगा. स्ट्रेंथ मीन्स व्हाट? ऑल दी गेजेटेड, नॉन गेजेटेड government servants who are members of the club. And for this purpose, the ministry, attached office, subordinate office, all are put together. ये एक ही यूनिट माना जाएगा. The grant in aid will be admissible on the basis of the total strength borne on this regular strength of an organization, that is ministry or department, etc., and its attached and subordinate officers, treating as a single unit. Statutory bodies whose budget forms part of Consolidated Fund of India, irrespective of the fact whether any individual is a member of the staff club or etc. or not. However, grant in aid in respect of gazetted officers will be admissible only to that ministry or department or office where membership of recreation club is open to such officers. उस समय उनका गिनती किया जाएगा, otherwise not. Staff paid from contingencies, work charge staff, etc., will not be taken into calculation for this purpose. Staff eligible for similar concession under some other rule or statutory provision, etc., industrial workers will also not be covered by these rules. The amount of grant in aid. The rate of grant in aid will be rupees 50 per head per annum. गिनती में आ गया तो उनका एक 50 रुपया मिलेगा. Not to that person, it will be to that recreation club. In addition to this, an additional grant in aid up to rupees 25 per head per annum to match the subscription collected during the previous financial year by the existing staff clubs will be admissible. In addition, 50 rupees to per head milega. In addition, 25 rupees will be given per head, that is commensurate with what is collected from them as subscription. In the case of staff clubs which are started during the financial year in which grant in aid is to be given, an additional matching grant in aid up to rupees 25 per head per annum to match the subscription collected by such clubs up to the date on which the proposal for grant is mooted may be sanctioned. The total strength of the eligible staff will be that existing on 31st of March of the previous financial year, or that on the date on which the proposal for grant is mooted in the case of new clubs. An illustrative list of items on which expenditure can be incurred out of grant in aid sanctioned by government for provisions of amenities is given below. तो ये पढ़ लेना, ये मैगजीन, पीरियोडिकल, एंट्री फी टू टूर्नामेंट्स वगैरह वगैरह वगैरह. A maximum one-time grant of rupees 50,000 may be sanctioned for setting up of a recreation club. Number 3, grant in aid to the ministry or department of the central government and their attached and subordinate officers will be allocated by the concerned ministry or department on receipt of formal request in the prescribed manner. For the purpose of these grants in aid, the department of central government and their attached and subordinate officers will be treated as a single unit. It will be responsibility of that ministry or department to distribute the amount further to its attached and मिनिस्ट्री को एक साथ गिनती करके ग्रांट इन एड सैंक्शन किया जाएगा. इट इज फॉर जस्ट लाइक बजट एलोकेशन, इट इज फॉर द मेन मिनिस्ट्री टू डिस्ट्रीब्यूट फर्दर to the attached officers and subordinate officers. The accounts of these clubs for the preceding year, duly audited by the internal auditor, should be obtained immediately after the close of the financial year. In any case, the 30th April by the ministry or department before allocating funds for next. ये internal audit, हर एक annual general meeting में एक last item होता है, appointment of internal audit. That is one of the ASOs, one of the junior accountants available in the ministry. He will be appointed as internal auditor for the particular recreation club. So audit accounts should be submitted by the April end of next financial year. Grants in aid for provision of amenities or recreational or welfare facilities to staff of the Indian Audit and Accounts Office are regulated by separate orders. तो C&AG ऑफिस में जो भी recreation club होगा उसका orders साहब issue करेंगे. Then procedure to deal with losses. Any loss of public money or stores or other property held on behalf of the government should immediately be reported by the subordinate authority concerned to the next higher authority as well as to the audit accounts officer, even when such loss has been made good by the party responsible for it. अगर सरकार का खाते से कुछ पैसा गुम हो गया or some equipment or goods lost, so for this that loss has to be written off. So suppose it is found by an authority, head of office का notice पर ये आता है that such and such amount is missing in the cash accounts. Cash, cashier साहब के पास some shortage of 10,000 rupees is found. आज inspection में ये पता चला गया है. So that has to be reported by the subordinate authority to his higher authorities. Who is subordinate authority? Any authority below the rank of the President of India. तो वो subordinate authority होता है, subordinate to the president. So head of office या कोई भी हो, that person, that official has to report to his higher authority. Cases of petty losses not exceeding 10,000 need not be reported. These limits you have to remember because बार-बार question में आता है. Cases of petty losses not exceeding 10,000 rupees need not be reported to audit accounts officer unless it merits investigation. कभी-कभी theft, fraud, ऐसा कुछ चीज इसके पीछे है, then 10,000 rupees का भी investigate करना होता है. In Kohima office, cashier was found gambling में लूज कर गया, काफी पैसा लूज कर गया. बाद में पता चला ये सारा सरकार का कैश बॉक्स में जो होना था, that money. Immediately he was placed under suspension and then action, the disciplinary action was taken. If the loss is detected, ऐसा है गवर्नमेंट लॉस, सपोज एक कैशियर के पास पैसा कम, दैट इज इट इज डेफिशिएंट, वो शॉर्टेज है, देन इमीडिएटली साहब जी माफ करना, मैं अभी लियाकर डाल देता हूँ, एटीएम में जाकर पैसा ड्रा करके उसको उसमें डालता है. दैट इज नॉट इनफ. Even if it is made good, loss is made good, that is not enough. If the loss is detected by the audit accounts officer, he shall report to the subordinate authority and if necessary to the government as well. Audit करने के समय कुछ पता चलता है, losses detect होता है, then that is reported to the particular authority, who may be head of this head of office or head of the department, whoever it is. Then in case if the amount is big and the theft or sabotage is doubted, then that will be reported immediately to the government. The subordinate authority shall conduct a departmental investigations as may be necessary to take steps to prevent recurrence and initiate action against the person responsible. कभी भी ऐसा loss detect होने पर immediately investigation should be conducted to fix up responsibility. The purpose of investigation is for fixing responsibility, to find out if there is negligence, to find out if there is any lacuna in the rules or system in vogue, and to recover or write off the loss. इस purpose के लिए investigation करना पड़ता है. Thereafter, he should forward a report to the government. The head of the department will, in such cases, write off the loss if it is within his competence. Otherwise, shall report the matter to the government. In respect to the cases involving loss of material worth rupees 50,000 or more, or destruction of government property as a result of theft, fire, etc., the subordinate authority shall follow the following procedure. A loss is more than 50,000 rupees. Then the following procedure. All cases of suspected sabotage, irrespective of value, shall be reported to the police. अगर इसका लिमिट कुछ नहीं है, it may be 5,000 rupees or 50,000 rupees, monetary limit does not matter in case there is suspicion of sabotage. Losses of the value of the above rupees 50,000 due to fire, theft, etc. should also be reported to the police. Suppose ऐसा calamity उसमें loss है, then also it should be reported to the government. Head of the department will decide at what police को report करना, कब report करना है, now or a departmental investigation खत्म होने के बाद. That has to be decided by the department. Necessary assistance should be extended to police investigation and a formal report of investigation obtained from them. पहले तो once you have reported to the police, you have to extend all sorts of assistance. So once that investigation is there, then you have to take a report from them and submit to your higher authorities. Powers to write off all profits and losses due to revaluation, stock taking, or other causes shall be duly recorded and adjusted where necessary. Formal sanction of the competent authority shall be obtained in respect of losses, even though no formal correction or adjustment in government accounts is involved. Power to write off loss is available in the DFPR. According to the Delegation of Financial Powers rules, the authority has to issue sanction to write off. Losses due to depreciation. Losses due to depreciation shall be analyzed and recorded under following heads as applicable. Normal fluctuation of market prices, normal wear and tear, lack of foresight in regulating purchases, negligence after purchase. These currents say the government may incur losses. Then losses not due to depreciation. Losses not due to depreciation shall be grouped under the following heads. Losses due to theft or fraud. It is one way of losses. The losses due to neglect. Anticipated losses on account of obsolescence of stores or of purchases in excess of requirement. तो पड़ा रहे So it has become unserviceable. That is obsolescence of stores or of purchases in excess of requirement. जितना चाहिए उसे बहुत ज्यादा परचेस कर लिया, यूटिलाइज नहीं हो पाया, that way. Then losses due to damage. किसी किसी तरह का डैमेज हो सकता है. Losses due to extraordinary situation like force majeure, conditions like fire, flood, enemy action, etc. उसमें भी loss होता है. All losses of immovable property exceeding rupees 50,000, such as building, communication, or other works caused by fire, flood, cyclone, earthquake, or any other natural cause shall be reported at once by the subordinate authority to the government. All other losses should be immediately brought to the notice of higher authority. Transfer charge. हर एक officer, whenever some officer is transferred out, he has to hand over, and the person who is entering, new incumbent, he has to take over. तो ऐसा है, एक ट्रांसफर का समय एक चार्ज रिपोर्ट बना के देना चाहिए. That is transfer of charge. A report of transfer of a gazetted government servant duly made in form GFR 33 and signed both by the relieved and relieving government servants shall be sent to on the same day to the head of the department or other controlling officers concerned, except in the following types of cases, in respect of which report of transfer charge need not be signed both by the relieving and relieved of government servants simultaneously and may be sent independently. ऐसा है, एक गवर्नमेंट सर्वेंट ट्रांसफर होता है, another government servant takes over from him. A charge report has to be prepared, and that has to be signed by both the officers, relieving officer and relieved officer. दोनों का सिग्नेचर होना चाहिए. And that report should be sent on the same date to the head of the department or the controlling officer. Some cases ऐसा नहीं हो पाएगा. Naturally, the possibility of a charge report signed by both the relieving officer and relieved officer on the date of transfer of a particular officer, it may not be possible in certain circumstances. उस केस में ऐसा दोनों का सिग्नेचर के साथ एक चार्ज रिपोर्ट भेजना नामुमकिन है. So what are they? Where a government servant assumes charge of a newly created or vacant post or relinquishes charge of a post which has been abolished. तो एक नया पोस्ट क्रिएट हुआ है, फर्स्ट टाइम एक आदमी को, एक ऑफिसर को प्रमोट करके उधर पोस्ट करते हैं या ट्रांसफर करके पोस्ट करते हैं. देयर वाज नोबडी एल्स उधर. रिलीविंग ऑफिसर ऐसा कोई नहीं है, रिलीव्ड ऑफिसर ऐसा कोई नहीं है. ओनली एन ऑफिसर इज टेकिंग ओवर. वेकेंट पोस्ट था वो, तो उसमें दो ऑफिसर साइन करके ज्वाइनिंग चार्ज रिपोर्ट बनाने का चांस ही नहीं है. नंबर 2, where a gazetted or government servant, another thing, उसी में relinquish charge of a post which has been abolished. Suppose एक officer, he is occupying a post which is abolished. Post is abolished हो गया है, then he is going out. उस समय कोई, there is no person to take over. Only that person can sign a certificate. He is being relieved because the post itself is abolished. So एक चार्ज रिपोर्ट बना के ऑफिस में फाइल कर देगा. टेकिंग ओवर करने को कोई और नहीं है. Where a gazetted government servant vacates a post for a short period and no formal appointment or officiating arrangement is made in his place. एक 6 महीना पीरियड के लिए एक ऑफिसर को इधर से उधर भेजा जाता है, and he will come back. So it is only for a short period he is being sent out. तो दो आदमी के सिग्नेचर का उधर बात ही आता है. No substitute is posted. So in that case there is no possibility of two officers signing it. Where due to administrative exigencies, a government servant is required to move to another post, relinquishing his post against local arrangement. Local arrangement करके किसी को पास ऐसा एंटाइटल्ड नॉन एंटाइटल्ड कैटेगरी ऑफ ऑफिसर को इसको देकर जाना पड़ता है अर्जेंटली. तो उस केस में भी द टेकिंग ओवर, फॉर्मल टेकिंग ओवर चार्ज दैट विल नॉट बी देयर. In cases in which the transfer of charge involves assumption of responsibility of cash, stores, etc., the following instructions should be observed. Agar cash officer, drawing and dispersing officer, head of the office, ये ऐसा कुछ वैल्यूएबल किसके पास है, स्टोर्स इंचार्ज, ऐसा केस में कैसा करना है? If it is DDO, the cash book or impressed account should be closed on the date of transfer and a note recorded in it over the signatures of both the relieved and the relieving of government servants, showing the cash and impressed balances and the number of unused checks, receipt books, etc., if any, made over and received by them respectively. अगर कोई स्टोर्स ऑफिसर है, everything should be counted and then a charge report banana hai. If it is a cash drawing and disposing officer jaisa, those officers handling are responsible for the cash, then in that case they will have to get the cash counted and then taking over and handing over should be there. In addition to cash, there could be unused leaves, check leaves, and receipt books. ये दोनों very important. So they should also be handed over and taken over. The relieving government servant should bring to notice anything irregular. Relieving government servant. Relieved officer means the person who is going out. The relieving officer is the person taking over. So that person is more concerned because जाने वाला तो वो जो भी है उसको छोड़ के चला जाता है. लेने वाला that fellow has to give account to future officers. So इसलिए what he is taking over, that he has to be careful. The relieving government servant should bring to notice anything irregular or objectionable in the conduct of business that may have come officially to his notice. He should examine the accounts, count, weigh, and measure certain selected articles as applicable in order to test the accuracy of their returns. तो वो टेक ओवर करने वाला ऑफिसर अगर स्टोर्स टेक ओवर करता है, कैश टेक ओवर करता है, all these things he has to check and then take over. अगर कोई irregularity उसमें इसका समझ में आता है, in case he finds some irregularity in the items he is taking over, so that has to be brought to the notice of his higher authorities. In the case of any sudden casualty occurring or any emergent necessity arising for government servant to relinquish his charge, the next senior officer of the department present shall take a charge. When the person who takes charge is not a gazetted government servant, he must be, ऐसा है, कुछ emergency में hand over करना पड़ता है. Some accident occurs. Due to accidents, sudden handing over or sudden taking over takes place. In that case, sometimes another gazetted officer may not be there to take over. In such cases, you may be under compulsion to hand over to a non-gazetted officer. ऐसा केस में hand over कर सकते हैं, but whether there is a superior officer available or not, some superior officer, some other gazetted officer should be informed that it is in this circumstance that I am taking over, handing over to a non-gazetted government servant. The additional procedure to be followed by an audit officer or accounts officer, etc., in the making over charge of his functions in connection with the charitable endowments and other trust accounts is laid down in appendix. ऐसा कुछ है. स्पेशल अकाउंटिंग प्रोसीजर के बारे में कुछ टेकिंग ओवर हैंडिंग ओवर हो तब it is available in appendix 12. So some definitions are given that you please go through. That is responsive bid क्या होता है, responsible bid क्या होता है, then lump sum contract we saw earlier, cost plus contract also we saw, and so these things please go through. Okay, we will see DFPR tomorrow. Good night.